The stars vanished from Earth's sky without warning on a Tuesday morning. Not all of them, just the ones that mattered. Every satellite humanity had launched into orbit went silent in the same instant. Communication systems failed. GPS stopped working. The International Space Station sent one final, panicked message before its signal died completely. Commander Jack Morrison was in his office at the United Earth Defense Initiative headquarters when the alerts started flooding in. His coffee cup sat forgotten on his desk as screen after screen turned red. Every single off-world asset had gone dark. No signals in, no signals out. It was as if someone had drawn a curtain around the entire planet. "Get me a status report," Jack barked into his communicator. His team scrambled to make sense of the chaos. Within an hour, they had confirmed the impossible. Earth was cut off from space. Completely and utterly isolated, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was one of the first to notice the barrier itself. She had been running atmospheric tests in a high-altitude aircraft when her instruments picked up something strange. A shimmering wall of energy surrounded the planet, extending far beyond the moon's orbit. It wasn't visible to the naked eye, but every sensor screamed that it was there. "Sir, you need to see this," Amy said when she landed and rushed to headquarters. She pulled up the data on the main screen. The readings showed an energy field of impossible density, perfectly spherical, completely enclosing the solar system. "This isn't natural. Someone built this." Jack stared at the data, his mind racing. How long would it take to build something like this? Dr. Peter Grant, the chief engineer, shook his head. "With our technology? Centuries, maybe millennia. Whoever did this is far more advanced than we are." The realization hit everyone in the room at once. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and whoever else was out there had just locked them in a cage. The next few days were chaos. World leaders held emergency meetings. Scientists worked around the clock trying to understand the barrier. Every attempt to breach it failed. Missiles bounced off harmlessly. Radio signals couldn't penetrate it. Even light behaved strangely near its surface, bending and distorting in ways that hurt to look at. Jack coordinated with governments around the world. For the first time in history, old enemies put aside their differences. The threat was too big for petty conflicts. If humanity was going to survive whatever came next, they needed to work together. "We're blind," Jack told the assembled world leaders during a video conference. "No satellites means no long-range communication, no weather prediction, no navigation. We're back to the technology level of the 1950s in some ways." "What do they want?" asked one of the leaders. "Whoever did this, what's their goal?" "We don't know," Jack admitted. "They haven't tried to communicate. They just locked us in and left." Dr. Kate Sullivan, director of the Global Science Coalition, had a different concern. "We need to consider the possibility that this is a quarantine. They might see us as a threat, or a disease." The thought sent chills through everyone listening. If aliens viewed humanity as dangerous enough to imprison, what would they do if Earth tried to break free? Weeks turned into months. Earth adapted to its new reality. Old infrastructure was rebuilt. Communication cables were laid across oceans. People learned to navigate by stars and landmarks again. Life continued, but with a constant awareness of the invisible prison surrounding them. Jack spent most of his time at headquarters, coordinating defense efforts for a threat that might never come. Amy flew regular patrols along the barrier's edge, mapping its properties, searching for any weakness. Peter and his team worked on theoretical ways to break through, though nothing seemed promising. It was during one of these long nights that Kate burst into Jack's office with urgent news. "We're picking up seismic activity. Unusual patterns." Jack looked up from his reports, exhausted. "Earthquakes? That's not exactly unusual." "These are different," Kate insisted. She pulled up a map on his screen. "They're all coming from the same location, deep beneath Antarctica, and they started the exact moment the barrier went up." That got Jack's attention. He leaned forward, studying the data. The seismic readings showed regular pulses like a heartbeat, emanating from a point 3 miles below the ice. "What's down there?" "We don't know," Kate said. "The readings suggest something massive, something artificial. How long has it been there? That's the strange part. We've been analyzing the ice layers. Whatever is down there has been buried for at least 50,000 years, maybe longer." Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Antarctic data. Something ancient was waking up beneath the ice, and it had chosen now to make itself known, right when humanity needed help the most. "Organize an expedition," Jack ordered. "I want to know what's down there." It'll take weeks to prepare, Kate warned. Antarctica isn't easy to reach, and drilling through 3 miles of ice will be a massive undertaking. Then we better start now, Jack said firmly. This might be our only chance. As Kate left to begin preparations, Jack stood and walked to his office window. Outside, the night sky looked normal. Stars twinkled peacefully. The moon hung low on the horizon. But he knew the truth. Just beyond sight, an invisible wall kept humanity trapped on their homeworld. Amy joined him a moment later. She had heard about the Antarctic discovery and come straight to his office. "Do you think it's related?" she asked. "The barrier and whatever's under the ice?" "Too much of a coincidence otherwise," Jack replied. "Something knew this would happen. Something prepared for it." "You think something on Earth called for help?" Jack shook his head. "I think something on Earth has been waiting for the right moment to wake up." The following weeks were a flurry of activity. Kate assembled a team of the world's best scientists and engineers. Military personnel provided security. Massive drilling equipment was transported to Antarctica. Through enormous logistical efforts, the world watched and waited, hoping for answers. Peter worked on designs for specialized equipment that could withstand the extreme conditions. Amy volunteered to be part of the security team, unable to sit idle while others risked their lives. Jack coordinated everything from headquarters, though he wished he could go himself. The drilling began in the coldest part of winter. The team worked in shifts, fighting against temperatures that could kill in minutes. Progress was slow but steady. 1 mile down, then 2. The seismic pulses grew stronger as they approached, as if whatever lay beneath knew they were coming. On the 80th day of drilling, they broke through. The drill bit suddenly met no resistance, dropping into empty space. The team rushed to prepare for descent, knowing they were about to discover something that would change everything. Kate was the first to rappel down into the darkness below the ice. Her helmet light cut through the gloom, revealing what they had found. She gasped, her breath fogging inside her helmet. It was a ship, not a submarine or an icebreaker, but a spacecraft, massive beyond comprehension, buried in a cavern carved from solid ice and rock. Its hull was made of material she didn't recognize, covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. "Jack," she radioed back to headquarters, her voice shaking. "You need to see this. We found something incredible." As more of the team descended and their lights illuminated the ancient vessel, Kate walked toward it slowly. The ship was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. It looked like it had been waiting there forever, perfectly preserved, ready to wake at a moment's notice. She reached out and touched the hull. The moment her gloved hand made contact, the symbols flared bright. Light raced across the ship's surface in waves, patterns shifting and changing. Deep within the vessel, something hummed to life after 50,000 years of silence. Humanity had been isolated and imprisoned by forces beyond their understanding. But beneath the ice, a response was waking. Earth was not as helpless as it seemed. The cage around the planet had triggered something ancient, something powerful, something that had been waiting for exactly this moment. The sleeping warship was beginning to wake, and with it, humanity's true potential would finally be revealed. The ship stretched before them like a sleeping giant. Kate stood at its base, her head tilted back, trying to see where the hull ended and the cavern ceiling began. The vessel was at least 2 miles long, maybe more. Parts of it disappeared into the ice walls, suggesting even greater size hidden from view. "This is impossible," Peter whispered through the radio. He had arrived with the second team, bringing equipment to study the ship. The energy signature alone should have melted the ice around it. How is it still buried? Officer Lisa Chen, head of security for the expedition, kept her team positioned in a defensive perimeter. She didn't trust the ship, not yet. 50,000 years was a long time to sleep. Who knew what condition it was in, or what might happen when it fully woke up? The symbols covering the hull continued to pulse with light. Kate moved along the surface, running her scanners over the strange metal. Every reading contradicted the last. The material was both solid and somehow fluid. It registered as cold as the surrounding ice, yet her instruments detected enormous heat just beneath the surface. "Look for an entrance." Jack's voice crackled through the radio from headquarters. "We need to get inside." The team spread out, searching the massive hull. Amy found it first, drawn to a section where the symbols glowed brighter than elsewhere. As she approached, the metal simply flowed aside, opening like a mouth. Warm air rushed out carrying a scent that reminded her of lightning and old libraries. "I found a way in," Amy reported. She peered into the darkness beyond. Lights flickered to life automatically, illuminating a corridor that led deep into the ship's interior. Kate joined her at the entrance. "We go in together, slow and careful. Peter, Lisa, bring your teams." They entered in groups, weapons ready even though they had no idea what they might face. The interior was pristine, showing no signs of age despite millennia of burial. The walls were smooth and curved, marked with more of the glowing symbols. The air was breathable, maintained by systems that had worked without pause for longer than human civilization had existed. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. It was a command center, clearly designed for that purpose, but the scale was overwhelming. Stations lined the walls, each one covered in controls that made no immediate sense. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and floating above it was a sphere of pure light. Kate approached the sphere slowly. As she got closer, it pulsed brighter, and a voice filled the chamber. It spoke in a language Kate didn't recognize, but somehow she understood every word. "Welcome, children of Earth. I am Sentinel, guardian of this vessel. I have waited long for your arrival." The team froze. Peter's hand instinctively went to his sidearm. Lisa signaled her people to ready their weapons. But Kate stepped forward, drawn by curiosity stronger than fear. "Who built this ship?" she asked. "Why is it here?" The sphere pulsed and images began to appear in the air around them. They showed a civilization of incredible advancement, beings that looked almost human but not quite. They built cities that touched the clouds. They traveled between stars as easily as humans drove cars. They shaped planets and brought life to dead worlds. "The architects," Sentinel said. "Your ancestors. The first children of the galaxy. They spread across the stars, creating and exploring, building wonders that younger races cannot imagine." "Our ancestors?" Amy stepped forward, staring at the images. "That's not possible. Humans evolved on Earth. We have fossil records going back millions of years." "You evolved as they designed," Sentinel explained. "The architects seeded this world with their genetic code, adapted to flourish in Earth's environment. They gave you time to grow naturally, to become something new yet still carry their essence within you." Peter shook his head in disbelief. Why would they do that? Why create us and then leave? The images shifted, showing something darker. The architects at war, fighting enemies that came from the spaces between stars, battles that tore solar systems apart, weapons that made nuclear bombs look like firecrackers. "They ascended," Sentinel said simply. "After eons of existence, they evolved beyond physical form. But before they left this plane, they planted seeds across the galaxy. Humanity is one of those seeds. And I was left here to wait for the day when you would need me." Kate's mind raced with questions. "The barrier around Earth, you knew about it." "Yes, the younger races have discovered you. They fear what you might become, so they have tried to cage you. This is why I have awakened." The architects knew their children would face such challenges. The other aliens, Jack's voice came through the radio. He had been listening to everything from headquarters. "Why do they fear us?" "Because they have found records of the architects. They know what your ancestors were capable of. They see the potential within humanity and wish to prevent its emergence. They would rather imprison you forever than risk facing what you might become." Lisa finally spoke up, her voice hard. "So what's this ship supposed to do? Fight them?" "This vessel is called the Titan's Wake," Sentinel answered. "It is a warship, yes, but also much more. It is a tool, a teacher, a key to your heritage. With it, you can break the barrier. You can show the galaxy that humanity will not be contained." Peter approached one of the control stations, his engineer's mind already working on the puzzle. The symbols began to make sense to him, not through understanding, but through intuition. His hands moved over the controls as if he had done this 1,000 times before. "It's responding to me," he said, wonder in his voice. "The ship is connecting to my mind. I can feel it." Amy moved to what looked like a pilot station. The moment she touched it, her vision exploded with information. She could see the ship's systems, feel its power, understand its capabilities. It was overwhelming and exhilarating at the same time. "I can fly this," she breathed. "I don't know how, but I know I can." Kate turned back to Sentinel. "If we use this ship, if we break the barrier, won't that start a war?" "War may come regardless," Sentinel replied. "But it is better to meet it with strength than to remain helpless. The choice is yours. I can only offer what the architects left behind. What you do with it will define who humanity becomes. The team spent hours exploring the ship. Each section they discovered was more impressive than the last. Weapons bays containing devices that bent space itself. Engines that could cross the galaxy in days instead of years. Manufacturing facilities that could create almost anything from raw materials. Medical centers with technology that could cure diseases humanity hadn't even discovered yet. Jack arrived at the Antarctic site with a full military team. He needed to see the ship for himself, to understand what they had found. When he entered the command center and saw Sentinel's sphere, he felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Can we trust this?" he asked Kate quietly. "Everything it's telling us?" Kate looked at the ancient AI, then back at Jack. "I don't know. But I do know that we're trapped, and this might be our only way out. The barrier isn't going away on its own. We need to tell the world," Jack decided. "Everyone deserves to know what we've found, and we need to decide together what to do with it." The announcement went global within hours. Video footage of the Titan's wake spread across every news network. Scientists and leaders debated what it meant. Religious groups struggled with the implications. Humanity had to confront a truth that challenged everything they thought they knew about themselves. But beneath the debate and discussion, a consensus was forming. Earth could not remain caged. Whatever the risks, whatever the cost, humanity deserved freedom. Jack stood before the world leaders once again, this time with a proposal. "We form an international crew. The best pilots, engineers, scientists, soldiers. We learn everything this ship can teach us, and when we're ready, we break out. And if the aliens attack?" one leader asked. "Then we defend ourselves," Jack answered firmly. With the tools our ancestors left us, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would wake the sleeping warship fully. They would learn to use the power that had been waiting beneath the ice. And they would show the galaxy that Earth would not accept imprisonment. Kate returned to the ship with a growing team of specialists. Peter began integrating human technology with the ancient systems, finding that they worked together more easily than seemed possible. Amy spent hours in the pilot's chair, her connection to the ship growing stronger each day. Lisa trained security teams in the use of architect weapons, which responded to human touch as if they had been made for it. Medical staff studied the healing technology, already planning how it could change life on Earth. Engineers mapped every system, learning how the seemingly impossible ship actually functioned. And deep within the vessel, Sentinel watched and waited. The children of the architects were beginning to remember who they were meant to be. The galaxy had tried to prevent this awakening, but in doing so, they had guaranteed it. The Titan's wake hummed with growing power as more systems came online. In orbit above Earth, invisible to everyone below, the barrier detected the energy signature. Automated systems sent warnings across the galaxy. The younger races received those warnings with terror. The architects were gone, they had told themselves. Their weapons were silent. Their children were contained. But now one of those weapons was waking up, and its children were remembering their birthright. 3 months of constant work had transformed the Titan's wake from a sleeping relic into something approaching readiness. The ship no longer felt dead and empty. Its corridors hummed with energy. Lights pulsed in rhythmic patterns. The air itself seemed to vibrate with barely contained power. Amy had practically moved into the pilot's chamber. She slept in quarters nearby, ate meals at her station, and spent every waking hour deepening her connection with the ship. The neural interface was unlike anything humanity had created. It didn't just relay commands. It merged her mind with the vessel itself until she couldn't tell where she ended and it began. "Try the maneuvering thrusters," Peter called from engineering. He monitored the power systems, making sure everything stayed balanced. The ship was so massive that even tiny movements required enormous energy. Amy closed her eyes and thought the command. The ship responded instantly. Throughout the vessel, people felt a gentle shift as the Titan's wake lifted slightly off the cavern floor. Ice that had held it for millennia cracked and fell away. "Perfect control," Peter reported, excitement clear in his voice. "You're a natural at this, Amy." She smiled, feeling the ship settle back down. "It's not me. The ship knows what to do. I just pointed in the right direction." Jack watched from the command center, impressed despite his concerns. They were moving faster than he'd hoped, but slower than they needed. Intelligence reports from around the world painted a worrying picture. The aliens were mobilizing. The barrier's sensors had detected the Titan's wake, and whoever controlled that barrier was preparing for trouble. Kate worked in the ship's vast library, a chamber filled with data crystals containing the accumulated knowledge of the architects. She had barely scratched the surface, but what she'd learned was both wonderful and terrifying. "Jack, you need to see this," she called. He joined her, and she displayed a hologram showing the galaxy. The architects didn't just build ships. They shaped the development of dozens of species. They prevented extinction events. They guided younger races toward civilization. They played God, Jack observed. More like gardeners, Kate corrected. They tended the galaxy like a garden, helping life flourish. But then something happened. About 60,000 years ago, they just stopped. All at once, across the entire galaxy, they vanished. What happened to them? Kate shook her head. Sentinel says they ascended, but I think there's more to it. Something forced them to leave or change, and I think whatever it was, they wanted to make sure their legacy survived. Lisa interrupted their discussion. "Commander, we have a problem. Perimeter sensors are picking up movement on the surface. Something just crossed into our airspace." Jack and Kate rushed to the command center. The displays showed multiple craft approaching the Antarctic site. They weren't human designs. Sleek and angular, they moved with purpose toward the excavation. "First contact," Jack muttered. "And they don't look friendly." Sentinel's sphere brightened. "They are scout ships from the Galactic Council. They have come to assess the threat. You must decide now. Hide what you have found or show them that humanity will not be intimidated." Jack didn't hesitate. "Battle stations. Everyone to their posts. Amy, can you get us airborne?" "The ship's ready," Amy confirmed, her hands already moving over controls that responded to her thoughts as much as her touch. "But we haven't tested the main systems. We don't know if everything will work. Then we're about to find out. Lisa, arm weapon systems." Lisa moved to the weapons station where displays showed an array of armaments that still confused her despite weeks of study. Zero-point beams, quantum disruptors, gravity wells, and a dozen other systems she didn't fully understand. She activated what she could, trusting the ship to handle the rest. The alien scouts circled overhead, scanning the site with sophisticated sensors. They had detected the energy signature but seemed unsure what they had found. Their caution made sense. The readings coming from beneath the ice matched nothing in their databases except one thing: architect technology. Inside the Titan's wake, alarms sounded as the ship prepared for launch. Non-essential personnel evacuated to safe areas. Engineers secured systems. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Everyone had known this moment would come, but the reality was still terrifying. "All hands, this is Commander Morrison," Jack announced over the ship-wide communication system. "We're about to show the galaxy that Earth will not remain caged. Trust your training. Trust each other. And trust this ship. Our ancestors built it for moments like this." Amy felt the ship respond to her determination. Power surged through systems that had been dormant for longer than human civilization had existed. The Titan's wake was waking fully for the first time in 50,000 years, and it was eager to fly again. "Initiating launch sequence," Amy announced. "Everyone hold on." The ship rose smoothly despite its enormous size. Ice and rock fell away as it emerged from the cavern. The Antarctic sky, usually empty and pristine, now held something impossible: a vessel 2 miles long, covered in glowing symbols, rising into the air as if gravity was merely a suggestion. The alien scouts scattered in panic. Their sensors screamed warnings. This wasn't just architect technology. This was a fully functional architect warship, something the galaxy thought lost forever. One scout tried to flee toward orbit. Lisa acted on instinct, touching controls that her hands seemed to know without being taught. A beam of coherent light lanced out from the Titan's wake, so precise it caught the scout ship without damaging it, just freezing its engines. Warning shot across their bow. Jack ordered, "We're not here to destroy them unless they force us to." The remaining scouts held position, neither attacking nor retreating. Jack could imagine the frantic communications happening aboard those ships. Their commanders would be demanding answers. Their governments would be panicking. The imprisoned humans had found a weapon that could challenge the entire Galactic Council. "Sentinel, can we communicate with them?" Kate asked. "Translation systems are ready," the AI confirmed. The architects encountered most of these species during their time in physical form. "Their languages are in my database." Jack took a breath and opened a channel. Alien vessels, this is Commander Jack Morrison of Earth. We mean you no harm, but we will not accept imprisonment. The barrier around our world must come down. Silence stretched for long moments. Then a response came in accented but understandable English. Human vessel, you do not understand what you have awakened. That ship was sealed away for good reason. Then help us understand, Jack replied. Talk to us, negotiate, but know that Earth will not remain in a cage. We're willing to join the galactic community peacefully, but will break free by force if necessary. The Council will never allow an architect warship to operate freely. You must surrender the vessel immediately. Peter shook his head, listening from engineering. They're scared. Really scared, Jack agreed. I think we just changed the balance of power in the galaxy without meaning to. More ships began appearing in the sky. Larger vessels, heavily armed, dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The Galactic Council was responding in force, assembling a fleet to deal with the threat. Count? Jack asked. 30 ships so far, Lisa reported. More arriving every minute. Multiple species. Different designs. They're forming a blockade. Amy felt the Titan's wake analyzing the situation, feeding information directly into her mind. We can take them, she said quietly. The ship is showing me their capabilities. They're armed with particle beams and kinetic weapons. Nothing that can threaten us. But we'd have to hurt them, Jack said. Maybe kill them. I'd rather avoid that if possible. Kate had an idea. Sentinel, can you show them what this ship is capable of without actually using it on them? A demonstration? Yes, but they will likely interpret any demonstration as a threat. They already see us as a threat, Jack pointed out. At least this way they'll know what kind of threat we are. He made the decision. Amy, take us up. Full atmospheric flight. Show them what this ship can do. Amy grinned despite the tension. She had been waiting for this. Her mind merged with the ship completely, and the Titan's wake responded like an extension of her body. It accelerated smoothly, breaking the sound barrier without even a whisper of wind resistance. The alien ships tried to follow, but they were like birds chasing a fighter jet. The Titan's wake climbed toward orbit, then stopped suddenly. It hung motionless in the upper atmosphere, a feat of engineering that should have been impossible. Then it moved again, dancing through maneuvers that violated every law of physics the aliens knew. It wasn't faster than light, not yet, but it moved like something alive. Like gravity and inertia were choices rather than rules. They're getting the message, Lisa reported, watching the alien fleet's reactions. Half of them are backing away. The rest are preparing to fire. Shields to full power, Jack ordered. But do not return fire unless I give the command. The alien fleet opened up with everything they had. Beams of coherent energy, missiles that could level cities, weapons that distorted space itself. All of it crashed against the Titan's wake's shields and dissipated harmlessly. The ship didn't even shake. Shields holding at 98%, Peter reported, amazed. They're barely scratching us. Inside her pilot's chair, Amy felt the ship's frustration. It wanted to. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session aboard their massive station that orbited a neutron star at the galaxy's edge. Representatives from 12 species gathered in the Grand Chamber, their fear palpable even across the vast differences in biology and culture. Admiral Vextar, an insectoid being with crystalline wings and compound eyes, stood at the center podium. His species, the Krill, had encountered architect ruins before. They knew what that ancient race was capable of, and they knew fear. The humans have awakened a warship, Vexitar announced, his voice translated through dozens of different interpretation systems. Not a replica, not a crude imitation, an actual architect vessel, fully functional, with capabilities that exceed our entire combined fleet. The chamber erupted in panicked discussion. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others counseled negotiation. A few suggested that humanity be destroyed completely before they could spread beyond their homeworld. The Luminara representative, a being made of living crystal that caught and refracted light in beautiful patterns, raised a limb for silence. We imposed the quarantine to prevent exactly this scenario. The humans were developing too quickly, showing all the signs of the architects reborn. By caging them, we hoped to delay their emergence until we were ready to face them. Instead, we have accelerated it. Then we must destroy them now, hissed a reptilian delegate, before they learn to use the ship fully, before they find the others. Others? Several representatives spoke at once, concerned in their translated voices. Vextar's wings buzzed nervously. We have found references in architect ruins to a fleet. 12 ships, each as powerful as the one the humans now possess. If they discover the locations, if they wake the other vessels, no force in the galaxy could stand against them. Where are the other ships? Demanded a representative whose species breathed methane and appeared through a holographic projection. We don't know, the Luminara admitted. The architects hid them well. But the ship the humans found will know. Its AI will have the locations in its database. The council debated for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. They would send their fleet to Earth, not to negotiate or observe, but to destroy the Titan's wake before humanity learned its full capabilities. It was a desperate gamble, but they saw no other choice. 300 warships began assembling near the barrier. The largest fleet ever gathered by the Galactic Council, representing 8 different species, each contributing their most powerful vessels. They were prepared to sacrifice everything to contain the threat. On Earth, Jack watched the fleet gather through long-range sensors. The Titan's wake could see much farther than any human technology, and what it saw was terrifying in its implications. They're not here to talk, Lisa observed, studying the tactical display. That's an invasion force. Kate looked at the data with a scientist's eye. Actually, it's more like an extermination force. They're bringing enough firepower to sterilize Earth's surface if they choose to. Then we don't give them that choice, Jack said firmly. We take the Titan's wake up there and we break through that barrier. Once we're in open space, we can negotiate from a position of strength. Peter had concerns. Commander, we've only tested maybe 30% of the ship's systems. We don't know if everything will work when we need it. And we've got a skeleton crew. This ship was designed for thousands of operators. The ship can run most systems autonomously, Sentinel interjected, the AI's sphere pulsing in the command center. What you lack in numbers, I can compensate for in automation. But Peter is correct, you are taking a significant risk. Amy stood up from her pilot station, determination clear on her face. We've been taking risks since we found this ship. I say we take one more. I can fly her. I know I can. And maybe, just maybe, we can show them that we're worth talking to instead of destroying. Jack looked around at his crew. They were tired, scared, but ready. He made his decision. We launch in 1 hour. Get everyone aboard. Anyone who wants to stay behind, no judgment. But those who come with us need to understand we might not make it back. Nobody left. Engineers secured their stations. Medical teams prepared for battle casualties. Security personnel armed themselves with architect weapons that still felt strange in human hands. And Amy returned to her pilot's chamber, settling into the neural interface with the ease of long practice. The Titan's wake lifted off from Antarctica for what might be the last time. It climbed through Earth's atmosphere, accelerating smoothly toward the invisible barrier that had trapped humanity for months. Behind it, billions of humans watched through whatever cameras and sensors could track its progress, praying for success. The alien fleet detected the launch immediately. Admiral Vextar gave the order without hesitation. All ships weapons free. Destroy that vessel before it reaches the barrier. 300 ships opened fire at once. The void between Earth and the barrier lit up with energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons that twisted space itself. It was firepower enough to vaporize a moon. The Titan's wake flew straight into the storm. Amy felt every impact through her neural connection. The shields absorbed everything, glowing brighter with each hit as they converted incoming energy into more power for the ship. She wove through the barrage with impossible grace, making the massive vessel dance like a fighter craft. Shields holding at 95%, Peter reported, his voice amazed. They're hitting us with everything, and we're actually getting stronger from it. Jack opened communication channels, broadcasting on every frequency. Galactic Council fleet, stand down. We don't want to fight you. We just want to be free. Vextar's response was immediate and harsh. You threaten the balance of the entire galaxy. Surrender the architect vessel and we will allow your species to live. That's not happening, Jack replied. This ship is humanity's heritage. You have no right to take it from us. Then you force our hand. The alien fleet intensified its assault. Ship after ship closed in, trying to overwhelm the Titan's wake through sheer numbers. But Amy was ready. She dove through their formation, so close that their own weapons started hitting each other in their desperation to target her. Lisa finally got her moment. Commander requesting permission to return fire. Jack hesitated. Once they crossed that line, there would be no going back. But the aliens weren't leaving them any choice. Target their engines only, he ordered. Disable, don't destroy. Show them we could kill them, but choose not to. Lisa's hands moved over controls that responded to her intent as much as her touch. The Titan's wake had dozens of weapon systems, each one capable of incredible destruction. She chose the most precise option: focused energy beams that could cut through shields and hull without causing explosive decompression. The first beam lanced out and struck an alien cruiser. Its engines went dark instantly, leaving the ship drifting but intact. The second beam caught 3 ships that had grouped too close together, disabling all of them in a single shot. The third, fourth, and fifth beams swept through the fleet like a scythe through wheat. 50 ships disabled, Lisa reported. No casualties that I can detect. The alien fleet pulled back, suddenly uncertain. They had expected the architect's ship to be powerful, but this level of precision and control was terrifying in its own way. The humans weren't just attacking. They were choosing exactly how much damage to inflict, demonstrating total mastery of their weapon. Amy brought the Titan's wake to a stop relative to the barrier. The energy field stretched before them, still as impenetrable as the day it had appeared. But now they had a ship that might be able to break it. Sentinel, Kate asked from her station, can we get through? Yes, the AI confirmed. But it will require significant power. The ship will be vulnerable during the breach. The aliens will have an opportunity to inflict real damage if they coordinate their attack. Jack looked at the alien fleet, still hovering just outside weapon range. They were regrouping, preparing for another assault. He knew they would take advantage of any weakness. Do it anyway, he ordered. Amy, get us through that barrier. Amy closed her eyes and felt the ship respond. Power surged through systems that had been held in reserve. The Titan's wake began to glow, bright enough to be seen from Earth's surface. Ancient symbols on its hull blazed with light as it gathered energy for something it hadn't done in 50,000 years. The ship's main weapon powered up, not the precise beams they had used to disable the alien fleet, but something far more powerful: a directed singularity, a controlled tear in the fabric of space itself. The alien fleet sensed what was happening and rushed forward, desperate to stop it. But Lisa was ready. She activated defensive systems that created fields of altered gravity around the Titan's wake. Alien ships slowed as if moving through water, their weapons firing but missing as trajectories curved away from the target. Amy released the singularity. It shot forward like a spear of twisted light and struck the barrier dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the energy field began to crack, fissures spreading across its invisible surface like a breaking window. The barrier shattered. After months of imprisonment, Earth was suddenly open to the stars again. The energy feedback from the breaking field washed over the alien fleet, temporarily disabling their shields and sensors. The weeks following the barrier's destruction were unlike anything humanity had experienced before. Earth's skies were suddenly full of alien ships, but not invasion forces. These were diplomatic vessels, trade convoys, and curious explorers from species that wanted to meet the humans who had awakened an architect warship. Jack found himself negotiating with representatives from dozens of different civilizations. Some came with respect, others with fear, but all of them wanted to understand humanity better. The Galactic Council itself had fractured over the issue of Earth, with 4 species voting to establish full diplomatic relations while the others retreated to their territories to consider their options. The Luminara ambassador was the first to land on Earth. Her crystalline form caught the sunlight beautifully as she stood before the United Nations building. Through translators, she spoke words that would be remembered for generations. We made a mistake, she admitted. We saw in humanity the shadow of the architects and acted from fear rather than wisdom. We tried to cage you, and in doing so we awakened what we most feared. But you have shown us mercy when you could have shown us destruction. For that we thank you and offer our friendship. Kate stood beside Jack during the ceremony, watching history being made. Do you think the others will come around? She asked quietly. Some will, some won't, Jack replied. Admiral Vextar and his people are too proud to admit they were wrong. But enough of them are willing to talk that we can build something here, a real alliance not based on fear. The Titan's wake rested in orbit above Earth, visible from the surface on clear nights as a new star that didn't move with the others. Amy had been promoted to captain of the vessel, a position that still felt surreal to her. She was barely 30 years old, and yet she commanded the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Peter had been busy since the battle. He led teams of engineers who studied the Titan's wake, learning its secrets and using that knowledge to design humanity's first true fleet of starships. They wouldn't be as powerful as the ancient vessel, but they would be far beyond anything Earth had built before. "We're calling this one the Armstrong class," Peter explained to Kate as they reviewed designs. "Fast, well-armed, designed for exploration and defense. We're planning to build 20 of them over the next 5 years." Kate studied the blueprints with a critical eye. "And you're sure you can reverse engineer architect technology safely? We don't want to create weapons we can't control." "Sentinel has been helping," Peter assured her. "The AI wants humanity to succeed. It's teaching us not just how to build these things, but why they work the way they do. We're not just copying technology, we're understanding it." Lisa had her own project. She trained the first generation of Earth's stellar navy, teaching them to fight in 3 dimensions with weapons that bent the laws of physics. Her students were eager but nervous, knowing they would be the first humans to defend Earth against threats from beyond the stars. "Remember," she told her class during one training session, "the Titan's wake won't always be there to protect us. We need to be able to stand on our own. That means mastering these weapons, understanding these tactics, and never forgetting that our strength comes from working together." 6 months after the barrier fell, Sentinel revealed its final secret to Kate. She had earned the AI's trust through countless hours of conversation and study. Now, in the quiet of the ship's library, the ancient intelligence shared what it had kept hidden. "There are 11 more ships," Sentinel told her, "scattered across the galaxy, hidden on worlds the architects deemed worthy. Each one waits for a species to find it, to prove themselves ready for the responsibility of such power." Kate felt her breath catch. "You knew about this all along?" "Yes, but I needed to see if humanity was ready, if you would use power wisely or let it corrupt you. The way you handled the battle, choosing mercy over destruction, showed me what I needed to see." "Where are the other ships?" Kate asked, then paused. "No, wait. You're not going to just tell me, are you?" Sentinel's sphere pulsed with what might have been amusement. "You understand well. The locations are encrypted in my database. As humanity proves itself further, as you grow into your role as the architect's inheritors, I will reveal the coordinates one by one. Each ship you find will be a test and a reward. Some of the other species will have found ships too," Kate realized. That's why the Council was so terrified. They know there are more out there. Indeed, 3 ships have been discovered by other civilizations over the millennia, but none of them could activate the vessels. The architects designed their legacy to respond only to species that carried their genetic code. Humanity is unique in the galaxy, Kate. You are their true children. Kate left the meeting deep in thought. She found Jack on the observation deck staring out at Earth below. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, beautiful in its blues and greens. "Sentinel told me about the other ships," she said, joining him. 11 more hidden across the galaxy." Jack nodded slowly. "I figured there had to be more. One ship changed the balance of power completely. A full fleet would make humanity unstoppable. Is that what we want?" Kate asked. "To be unstoppable?" "No," Jack answered honestly. "I want us to be strong enough that nobody tries to cage us again. But I also want us to be wise enough not to become the very thing we fought against. Power without wisdom is just tyranny with a different name." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Earth turn beneath them. Finally, Kate spoke again. "I've been offered a position," she said, "Director of the new Department of Galactic Relations. They want me to oversee humanity's integration into the wider galaxy." "You should take it," Jack encouraged. "You're perfect for the job. You understand both the science and the politics. What about you?" "What's next for Commander Jack Morrison?" Jack smiled. "I'm being promoted to Admiral, apparently. Someone needs to coordinate Earth's defense forces as we build our fleet. And someone needs to make sure we never forget why we're doing this. To protect our freedom, not to conquer others." Amy joined them on the observation deck, her captain's uniform still feeling strange after months of wearing it. "We've received requests from 17 different species asking for cultural exchanges," she reported, "and 3 offers of military alliance. The galaxy wants to be friends now that they know we can defend ourselves." "Funny how that works," Lisa commented, arriving with her own news. "I've been contacted by the Luminara. They want to establish a joint military training program, share tactics and technology." "That's progress," Jack observed. 6 months ago they were trying to kill us. Now they want to train with us." The 4 of them stood together, looking down at their homeworld. Humanity had been isolated, imprisoned, and threatened with extinction. In response, they had found strength they didn't know they possessed and shown mercy they didn't have to give. The galaxy had tested them and found them worthy. But this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, 11 more warships waited in the darkness. Other civilizations searched for them, hoping to claim the architect's power for themselves. And humanity, the true children of that ancient race, would have to decide what kind of legacy they wanted to create. On Earth's surface, celebrations continued. Humanity had earned its freedom and its place among the stars. Children looked up at the night sky with new wonder, knowing that their future lay beyond the atmosphere, among worlds and species they had only dreamed of before. In government buildings and research centers, plans were being made. Earth's first colony ships were under construction, designed to carry humans to new worlds. Trade agreements were being negotiated with alien species who offered technology and resources in exchange for Earth's unique perspective and creativity. Scientists studied the data. Sentinel shared about architect technology, making breakthroughs that would have taken centuries without guidance. Medical advances based on alien knowledge began to cure diseases that had plagued humanity for generations. Energy systems based on zero-point extraction promised to solve Earth's power needs forever, but not everyone was happy. Admiral Vexistar and his allies in the Galactic Council watched Earth's rapid advancement with growing concern. They held secret meetings discussing what should be done about the human problem. Some advocated for another attempt at containment. Others suggested a more permanent solution. Jack received intelligence reports about these meetings and shared them with his senior staff. "They're not done with us," he warned. "Some of them will never accept humanity as equals. We need to be ready for another confrontation." "Then we better find those other ships first," Amy suggested. "If we can build a fleet of architect vessels, nobody will dare challenge us." "That's exactly what I'm afraid of," Kate countered. "We start a galactic arms race and everyone loses. We need to be smarter than that." Peter had a different idea. "What if we share? Not the ships themselves, but the knowledge. We help other species advance their technology. Show them we're not trying to dominate anyone." "That's idealistic," Lisa warned, "and dangerous. Give our enemies better weapons and they'll use them against us." "Or," Jack said thoughtfully, "we create a situation where everyone benefits from cooperation more than conflict, where attacking humanity means losing access to technology and trade that makes life,